Welcome to Arlington Public News. I'm Carla Dorado.
And I'm Paul Werlin. Thanks for joining us. In this edition of APN, celebrating a long-awaited championship with the Arlington High School boys hockey team.
Warrant Article 17 could mean the end of plastic bags at restaurants and retailers in town. What would it mean for residents and businesses?
And the arts around Arlington gets a boost.
That and more up next. Stay with us.
Arlington hockey fans were on the edge of their seats as the Spy Ponders took the championship down to the final buzzer and beyond. Sunday night at TD Garden. APN's Matt Case was at the game. Hi Matt, have you caught your breath yet after all the excitement?
Well, Paul, after 46 years, the Arlington High School boys hockey team is once again state champions, and they became champions in dramatic fashion. The Spy Ponders took to the ice at the TD Garden Sunday night in the Super 8 title game. After a scoreless first period, senior Mike Curran got things going for the Spy Ponders with a goal late in the second. But that wasn't the only action we'd see in this game. Early in the third period, Catholic Central's Joseph Biddle scored with a long-distance dagger past goalie Jake Pinard, and we were all knotted up at one apiece. For the rest of the third period, these two teams traded shots. There were close calls all over the place, but to no avail, and this one was headed to overtime. But the Ponders would only need 12 extra seconds for Mike Curran to score again, this time with the game winner, and Arlington becomes the first public school to win the Super 8 since 2010. This is the first state championship for Arlington since 1971. Mike Curran was the hero of this game, scoring both goals for the Spy Ponders. Paul?
Thanks, Matt. We'll be looking for celebrations to come. Carla?
We continue to look at the town meeting warrant with a look at Article 17, the proposed plastic bag ban. Several communities have put similar bans in place over the last few years, each with their own twist. How would the ban look here in Arlington? Reporter Harry Kramer has the story.
The age-old question, paper or plastic, may soon be a thing of the past in Arlington. In April, a proposed warrant article up for adoption at town meeting would ban the use of plastic bags at retailers across town. According to its supporters, the bill will reduce litter, protect the marine environment, and lower greenhouse gas emissions. Jim Ballin, a member of Arlington for Reduced Plastic Waste, presented the details of the bylaw proposal to the Arlington Board of Selectmen on Monday, March 13th.
I think it's pretty straightforward. We were initially looking at the Somerville model, which is to ban plastic bags provided at checkout in retail stores and restaurants in Arlington.
Douglas Heim, the town council for Arlington, explained that the ban would allow exemptions for bags used for laundry, newspapers, medicine, and other specific items within grocery stores.
And that's the most important sort of feature just to understand, is that the regulation is really only about checkout points. It's not about internal points within a grocery store, things like produce bags, meat, and things like that. It's really only supposed to be oriented around the end product and what you're taking to your car.
In a phone interview, Ballin made clear that the bylaw would affect all businesses, large and small.
There'll be no exemptions for smaller stores. Those smaller retail stores will be given more time to come into compliance.
A motion by Mr. Burns, seconded by Mr. Curo. Any further questions or comments?
In Arlington, the proposed bylaw was given unanimous support by the Board of Selectmen and is scheduled to be brought up again at the town meeting in April. Some stores, like Stop & Shop, support plastic bag bans in the abstract. A formal statement given to ACMi stated that Stop & Shop supports recycling at every level, and we encourage our customers to recycle plastic bags and to use reusable bags offered to our customers at affordable prices. Stop & Shop supports plastic bag bans that are broadly applicable to all retailers, not just supermarkets. Other small business owners, like Joe Balich of Balich 5 and 10, are opposed to the ban.
The last couple of winters, I haven't been seeing many plastic bags that are flowing up into the trees and blowing around. And I see very few bags blowing in the wind outside. I don't think it's that big of a problem, to be honest with you. But if the ban does go into effect, I will switch over to paper bags.
Balich has lots of different kinds of bags, depending on what the customer buys. Banning bags, he said, was impractical and probably not the best way to reduce waste in Arlington. other citizens, like Sherry Agatstein, think that plastic bags have already become a thing of the past.
Because plastic bags are just a nuisance to the environment, and we can do better than that. Most people these days have a plethora of reusable bags. It's just a matter of getting used to them, and I think most people are used to them at this point.
My wife is originally from Paris, where plastic bags are illegal, and it saves everyone time, hassle. It's wonderful. You bag your own groceries with your own bags. You're not using plastic. You're not hurting the environment.
In Massachusetts, 42 towns and cities have banned the bag. Near Arlington, for example, Brookline, Watertown, and Somerville have all banned plastic bags. In addition to banning plastic bags, Cambridge added a 10-cent fee on paper ones. There is some evidence that this grassroots approach may be influencing politicians in the State House. In April of 2016, the State Senate voted in favor of approving a ban on plastic bags, and a statement from the House Committee on Environment, Natural Resources, and Agriculture recommended that the bill be passed. The bill is currently stalled in the House, due partly to the reservation of Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker to sign it. Until the state bill passes, or town meeting members approve Arlington's own plastic bag ban, residents can count on still having their choice at checkout. Harrison Kramer, Arlington Public News.
9 Community Preservation Act proposals have been presented to the committee in advance of town meeting. In our last newscast, we introduced you to proposals to renovate Spy Pond, a master plan and study of the Arlington Reservoir, and a housing proposal at Downing Square. Tonight, we look at 3 more CPA funding hopefuls.
I'm Pam Hallett, Executive Director of the Housing Corporation of Arlington. We are here presenting right now our request for 20 Westminster. We want to turn it into 9 units of affordable housing. 3 of the units will be wheelchair accessible. We did go through a 40B process, and we're granted that change in zoning to allow us to build the units there. And so we are here asking for $500,000 of CPA money to finish out most of our funding.
As you all know very well, Arlington has an abundance of historic buildings, structures, and landscapes that it seeks to preserve for future generations. And many, many residents are engaged in preservation efforts and excited about preservation, and there is significant momentum. The importance of updating the inventory really can't be understated. It is essential that stakeholders have accurate information about historic properties when making critical decisions about building materials, architectural landscapes, and contributing elements of historic districts. The most immediate goal of this project is having a local historic resources inventory that is a reliable source of information for local residents, town officials, and others.
So I'm Jenny Raid, I'm the Director of Planning and Community Development. Thank you for asking me to submit the full application. I appreciated that opportunity. I'm here to talk about the Whittemore Park. We believe that the project, these are the primary goals, improve and invite people into the park to use it as a recreational opportunity. And the cost estimate alone being in the millions is, again, for both all of the streetscape and then just this park alone, it's unusual and unlikely for the state to be able to cover those costs.
The committee is currently reviewing the projects and preparing to vote on final funding recommendations to town meeting. Well, Carla, 46 years they won the hockey trophy. That's quite, do you remember? No, you're not old enough to remember that, are you?
Oh, no, I'm 29.
Yeah.
It is wonderful, and I'm really proud of our boys.
It's terrific. It's really, congratulations to them all.
Absolutely.
Coming up next in Arlington Public News, Arlington reads Becoming Nicole, and we meet Nicole Maines and her father.
And planning a bright future for the arts in Arlington. That and more when we come back.
In this very politically charged environment, there is little excitement around Arlington's town election. But that doesn't mean there isn't plenty of room for civic engagement. Brenda Mahoney brings us more in this week's Snapshot. What's going on, Brenda?
Thanks, Paul. Town elections are right around the corner, but you might not know it. This year, there are no contested races for the 8 townwide seats to be elected April 1st. although there are contested seats for town meeting members. The lack of competition means a lack of discussion on issues. School committee member Jennifer Suss and Selectman Dan Dunn shared their thoughts on the situation with APN.
I'm a little disappointed. I wish that I had like something a little bit more that we could do a little bit more of a debate and talk about things. And I will continue to say the things that I think are important. I always do. But you get more attention, you get more eyes, and you get more people thinking about it when there's actually a conflict and there's actually a discussion.
Yeah, it's good and bad. So I actually wrote to the people, to my newsletter, that I was interested in having community dialogues. The things I miss about running is sort of all that opportunity to sit in people's living rooms and talk to people at town hall and at the hockey games and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I'm not doing that this year because I don't need to.
This might be the last time Arlington voters can cast a ballot for treasurer. There is an article in the town meeting warrant to convert the office of town treasurer from an elected to an appointed position. If approved, the change wouldn't happen automatically. The final decision would most likely be made as the result of a ballot question, referendum, or home rule petition before the state legislature. The importance of civic engagement was highlighted at Town Hall recently. On Saturday, March 18th, more than a dozen Arlington government departments came together for Civics Day. The informal meet and greet gave residents a look at how town government works, its use of new technology, and a demonstration on recycling old t-shirts. The overall theme was community engagement. ACMi and APN were also there to let people know how to get involved in making TV programs such as this one. You can get out and vote on Election Day, Saturday, April 1st. There are plenty of town meeting seats that are contested. Polls will be open from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. You may find your polling place on the election page at arlingtonma.gov. That's it for this week's Snapshot. Back to you, Paul and Carla.
This year, Arlington came together to read Becoming Nicole and to learn more about transgendered issues. Nicole Main and her father shared their story with residents earlier this month. Reporter Gayatri Sundarajan sat down with the two.
Hello and welcome. My name is Gayatri Sundarajan. Today I'm here with a family to whom transgender rights is more than a headline. For this family, being transgender is about acceptance, resilience, and unconditional love. So what are the changes that you think the community or the person needs to take so that this can be more of a normal conversation and doesn't have to be an odd one out kind of situation?
I think the communication that needs to be had around transgender people and transgender issues is just that communication, having an open dialogue between parents and children and schools, employers. Just as a community, people need to be talking and have transgender issues be something that's normalized.
And what you talked about in some of the articles that you've been in is that having an accepting school is a big part of having a good relationship with who you are.
Oh, completely. I think having an accepting school is incredibly important because when the environment around you is saying, you're not all right, you're not okay, you're different, you need to be placed in a separate bathroom, you need to be separated from all the other kids, that's giving you so many signals like, I'm not all right and I'm not supposed to be doing what I'm doing. And it's really, really hard to just be secure in your own head and in your own body.
Wayne, what do you think you did to make the home comforting and encouraging for Nicole?
I listened to my wife. It was Kelly's strong foundation that kept our home safe and then kept me moving in the right direction. It took me a long time from the time she was old enough to talk to the time people started attacking our family. I think that was my last piece. How dare you attack my baby? We had to live it, or I had to live it to understand it, and we can't wait for the rest of America to live it to understand it. Kids are dying, and families are being destroyed, and they're living in hiding in America, which I cannot fathom.
Transgender issues need to be so less foreign a concept. People need to be able to put names to faces and put faces to the issues that we're talking about. And I think, when you're able to connect, actual people and identities to these issues, then it's a lot less harder to, discriminate, marginalize against people, because you're like, these are real people that I know and have talked to that this is affecting. I just was reading something on Facebook, and someone was saying, kids in high school don't even know, what they want to do when they grow up. How are they supposed to know what sex they are? And I'm like, actually, sex is the first thing that children know. And it's also the first thing where they recognize if there's a disconnect. If they're old enough to understand what they are completely old enough to understand what they are not. And that's, I think, was so interesting with me and my brother, having an identical twin, was at the same age he was realizing, oh, I like to play with trucks and action figures. I was realizing I did not like to do all of those things. And so I think we need to be giving kids a lot more credit and really listening to them, because when you're so young and having all of these confusing feelings and now having the responsibility to try to communicate them, parents really need to be open and receptive to what signals are being sent from their child.
I get asked that all the time. Wayne, my son really likes to play with dolls, and they're like hoping not. I'm going to give him a good answer. Like, my kid's not going to be transgender. I said, listen, I don't know. Who knows? Who cares? I said, just let them grow up. They'll tell you who they are.
So looking back at the girl who asked her mom, when do I get to be a girl? And the person who you've become today, what advice would you give to yourself as you kind of went through this transition?
Really just keep looking out for number one, and that's you. Number one is always you. And you just have to take care of yourself. And you know who you are, and regardless of whether or not your parents understand that, there are people out there, A, like you, and B, who will understand that and appreciate it.
On behalf of Nicole Maines and her father Wayne, this is Gayatri Sundarajan reporting for ACMi.
You can participate in several upcoming Arlington Read events. The final book discussion group takes place Friday, March 24th from noon to 1 p.m. in the Robbins Library Conference Room. Bring a lunch and share your thoughts with other Arlington readers. On Tuesday, March 28th at 7 p.m., learn more about the variety of gender identities that fall under the trans umbrella spectrum during the Gender Spectrum panel in the Robbins Library Community Room. Hear from professionals about their experience working with trans people and personal experiences being part of the trans community. And Wednesday, March 29th at 3:30 p.m., bring youngsters to the Fox Branch Library for the Pineapple Project, a children's play that explores gender and imagination. This fun show validates each child's individual freedom to be who they are. Contact Fox Library for ticket information. Well, Paul, I think it's really wonderful that Arlington is really making an effort to make our community welcoming to all of his residents.
It's really a diverse community. I think we can all be very proud of that.
It is. It's one of the reasons I love living here.
Next up, Arlington as an arts destination.
And pausing to appreciate the changing seasons. That and more when we come back.
The arts are everywhere in Arlington, but not always easy to find. A new initiative by the Department of Planning and Community Development is launching a town-wide cultural planning process to bring art and culture center stage. Artists and community members recently gathered to share ideas and set goals.
The Arlington Arts and Culture Action Planning Project organized an event for artists, politicians, and members of the community to get their input on how to improve the arts in town.
I think it's very visionary to have a planning department really take ownership of cultural planning. One of the things I said during the program is that cultural planning is something that's done in other parts of the world, and it hasn't really picked up traction in the U.S., so it is an emerging practice area, and one that urban planning is starting to catch up and realize that arts and culture is something that is worth planning for. So it's great that Arlington's at the forefront of that locally.
The Arlington Department of Planning and Community Development is spearheading the project in response to a survey of the Arlington community. Arlington is on the leading edge when it comes to promoting arts and culture, according to the Metropolitan Area Planning Council. The state agency has awarded the town technical assistance in formulating a cultural plan.
We want to raise the arts and cultural community up to give them more visibility and keep people who live here, sort of retain them a bit more from going to Cambridge, Boston, Somerville for their fun and games, which they should still do, but stay here a little more, and also attract people from those places to come here to consume arts and culture.
The project is being developed to help artists get more exposure for their work. Their goal is not only to bring people to Arlington, but to encourage local artists to meet one another.
A lot of artists tend to be introverts and tend to work in an isolation mode. So this is kind of pulling people together and forcing them to offer some input into how things to develop this community. Because we have a lot of creative people who live here, and they're not even aware of one another many times.
Dave Ardito is one of the many members of the community excited about what is happening for the arts in Arlington.
Basically, what's happening in Arlington is a cultural and arts renaissance over the last 5 to 10 years. Things are changing for the better in terms of installation of public art, in terms of arts programming for adults and children, in terms of performing and visual arts. The whole arts scene is exploding in a very, very positive way.
State Rep Garbali participated in the discussion and believes supporting the arts improves community life.
My father taught art for 30 years and sign painting in Boston, and so art has been a strong part of my life. And so it is great to see so many people who care about art and the role that art plays in making Arlington a better town.
The Arts and Culture Action Planning Project will unveil its draft plan on June 6th at Town Hall. For Arlington Public News, I'm Deborah Cardoso.
For more information or to view the entire survey, visit the cultural planning page at arlingtonma.gov.
Here at ACMi, we are working to give local artistic talent a showcase. 15 young filmmakers recently had the chance to share their videos at ACMi's 4th annual Town Teen Video Contest at the Regent Theater. Entries ranged from historical documentaries to teen horror and computer-generated animation to original storytelling. Arlington High School junior Sam Kim took home both Best Overall Production and Audience Favorites Awards for his animated adventure, RVT Part 1.
That's a lot of hate. Can it, Will? Uh-oh. What? Hello.
Congratulations to all the teen filmmakers who shared their incredible talent. Great work by all those talented young people. It was really interesting to see the variety of topics and styles these teens used, and we'll be seeing a lot more of them in the future, I'm sure.
As winter loosens its grip and spring approaches, we introduce you to a local resident who's slowed down long enough to really appreciate the changing seasons at the Arlington Reservoir. Jeff Maxtudis took us along on a walk with his companions Maggie and DJ.
Come on, let's go. Well, the reservoir is a great space both for active and passive recreation. There's a lot of dog walkers. I walk my dogs here at least every weekend, mostly on weekend mornings, and we've been doing this for years. And just looking at the reservoir and the conditions, and this is a wonderful spot. I said, why don't I just take a picture here when we walk around? And I just started doing it every weekend. And I did about a month, and I said, well, let's just keep going. And and it turned into a year. So I took at least one picture every day we walked here. So I'm not, really a photographer, but I enjoy recording conditions like this. There's a lot of subtle changes that you see, and sometimes you don't recognize, though, until you record those and look at those. From lighting conditions to the foliage, to the surface of the water, the color of the water, the weather, all those things. So I think if you, on a day-to-day basis, I don't think you maybe sometimes see the changes. You record those and put them together, and I think you can see a lot of change in one spot. Sit, sit, sit. And they like this spot anyways. This is Monroe Brook. It comes in from Lexington here. And there's quite a lot of squirrels and birds and ducks. And they're always looking for things to chase. So that they like this spot also. There's a lot of birding that goes on here. And people lead groups of birds. Birds migrate through here. There's walkers, there's joggers. People do informal art along throughout the reservoir. The Arlington boys and girls cross-country team have cross-country meets here. People fish, kayak, canoe on the reservoir. They skate, have informal hockey games. So there's a lot of activity that goes on here, and we don't have a lot of open space in Arlington. And this space gets used a lot by residents, so I think it's important.
Great lesson in slowing down to appreciate what's around us.
Thank you for joining Arlington Public News as we explore events and issues affecting Arlington. Check out our latest segments on the web at news.acmi.tv.
And don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at Arlington Public. The spring season means spring concerts throughout the Arlington Public Schools. We leave you tonight with one of them.
The first graders at Stratton Elementary School singing traditional children's Spanish song, Los Politos. Here's a listen. I'm Carla Dorado.
Now Paul Werlin, thanks for joining us.